Hey, what's good, everybody? It's your boy, Jolly by Nature, and we are back bringing you our chapter... God, I gotta think for a second. Our chapter 6 team builder as part of the Blastburn Radio Nuzlocke World Tour. We are, of course, doing the video where we sit down, we go over our team, what's looking good, what's looking not so good, and what our big plans and strategies are coming into PvP this week. And boy, do we need those big plans and strategies coming into PvP this week. We came in to chapter 6 with the slimmest advantage over Anna in third place that we've had this entire season, and we proceeded to lose 3 Pokemon in what was, I think, easily our most difficult stretch of Pokemon X so far. The good news is that none of those Mon were like incredibly impactful, at least as far as like our PvP strategies are concerned. Also, my bottom screen is off again. God damn it. But good news, I can actually fix that. So, hooray. Yeah, none of the Pokemon that we lost are Mon where it's just like, you know, oh no, how do win without that Pokemon? And that's real good. We're real happy that we did not lose any of our very best boys, but they are all still points that are no longer on the table. They did also cause us to have to egg box our good boy Claude, which is unfortunate. Claude was a really great Skuntank, had been really good for us in the series so far, but of the things that were left standing in my party at the end of the gym, he was the weakest link from a competitive standpoint. Not so much in that he was a bad Mon. In fact, I would argue that there were a couple of Mon on the team that he was better than, but because he was the least irreplaceable. We have another really strong poison type on the bench in Donut, our Nidoqueen. We have another really strong dark type on the bench in in Optimus, our Pawniard, who will finally soon be a Bisharp. And so ultimately it just made sense, but it made sense in a really unfortunate and frustrating way. But on that note, let's go ahead and talk about the team. And guys, the team, this is to me one of the best parts about Pokemon X and Y. The encounter tables are so good that our team is just so flush with incredible options right now. It's fantastic. The roster we're bringing into PvP this week is, of course, Ravioli, who is now our Garchomp, calm-natured Sandvale with Bulldoze, Honeclaws, Crunch, and Dragonclaw. Spoilers, that Learn set is going to be changing very soon. We've also got Gelato, our modest, shiny Audino with Thunderbolt, Simple Beam, Toxic, and Protect. We have Cheese, our Rotom Heat with Thunderbolt, Overheat, T-Wave, and Substitute. Sashimi, our Gyarados with Aqua Tail, Dragon Dance, Ice Fang, and Thunder Wave. Waffles, our Tyrantrum. I struggled over whether to bring Waffles to PvP this week, you guys, and honestly, like, overall, it's really hard to justify bringing Waffles when I am required to bring our good girl Ravioli. Like they fill a fairly similar niche overall, but ultimately the deciding factor for me was the fact that I love Waffles incredibly dearly, and this is the week we've been waiting for with Waffles. This was the week that I could finally evolve him and have all the tools we wanted him to have, and so we definitely wanted to take advantage of that and use him. Also, Stealth Rock's just real good. We have 2 users of Stealth Rocks, and finally one of them's fully evolved. So Waffles is coming. We're bringing Jellybean. Jellybean, the Staryu, is finally coming off the bench. Sassy natured with Power Gem, Recover, Brine, and Rapid Spin. Omelette, the Heracross, our new egg boy, is here and ready to put in big work. Jolly natured Moxie ability with Rock Blast, Pin Missile, Pursuit, and Close Combat. And Pumpkin Spice. So I mentioned this briefly in the gameplay video, maybe more than briefly, but it's been a while since we recorded that one, so I don't super remember, if I'm being honest. We brought Pumpkin Spice off the bench, and in fact we benched Taquito, our very good grass starter, in favor of Pumpkin Spice, and that doesn't feel great. It hasn't been very long on the podcast since I talked about how Taquito was a great starter and I didn't really see myself benching him this side of creation, but ultimately I had to look at a couple of things, and that is, I say a couple things. I had to look at one thing. That thing is Gelato. I am required to bring this Audino to PvP every week, despite the fact that it is not a Mon that I would traditionally really want to use. It is really, really respectably fat, and that is one thing that Gelato really has going for it. As far as a Mon that can live hits and Toxic and stall that Toxic out with Protect, Gelato is far from the worst thing I could possibly have. But reasonably, if you look at this box, there's a lot of really strong options that aren't coming to PvP. I would take any of them over Gelato, but I have to bring Gelato. I also have to bring Ravioli, which is not generally a bad thing. Garchomp is incredible, but like for instance, if I had a normal Garchomp, right? If I had just encountered a Gibble like both Anna and Celeste did, there's a very real chance that it would not be coming this week, despite being a Garchomp, because I would look at it and go, well, actually, Waffles has the better move pool and Stealth Rocks, and it just makes more sense to bring Waffles. And then maybe I would sit Ravioli on the bench and bring something else instead, something like Turducken with Screens and Light Clay, or something like Saffron with Wish and Aromatherapy. Guys, I know this happened on camera, or at least I think it did. I went to reteach Bold our Clefable Wish, and I forget if it was Heal Bell or Aromatherapy he hatched with, but the status clearing move that he came with, and I couldn't. It turns out that when we packed our egg box, we made a goof, and these mon are not able to relearn egg moves once they're forgotten. Ultimately, I talked it out with my co-host, and we decided that with it being so late in the series, we were just going to ride it out. It's a disadvantage we all share. We're all just kind of fine with it. But that means that Bold has lost a lot of the utility that he would have otherwise had in singles. And Allie, I know that you sent this egg. I apologize, bud, for not better protecting the things that Bold does really, really well. But that does also mean that Saffron has new life, as far as if we decide to bring like a bulky Clericking Fairy in the late game of the series. Saffron is probably going to be it. And I do appreciate that, because I like Florges a whole lot. But yeah, we could bring Donut, we could bring Peanut if we had not over-leveled Peanut this week. We did, spoilers, over-level Peanut this week. Haha. But you know, we're gonna do our best moving forward to build the best team possible. But yeah, like there's a lot of good things that we could and would be bringing if not for Gelato. But Gelato's here, and Ravioli are here, and they have to come to every single match. And that means that I need to compress as much utility, as many roles as I can out of those remaining 6 spots, really remaining 4 spots on the team when it comes right down to it. Like, you know, for instance, like my best switch in under normal circumstances before I got Pumpkin Spice, my best switch into a high jump kick out of Anna's Mega Medicham was Turducken, which quad resists it. And admittedly, Turducken is a really good switch in there. Quad resists, outspeeds, does an absolute brick shit house amount of damage with Air Slash. So not a bad plan overall. But Taquito still takes a lot of damage. Despite being my physical wall, 121 physical defense, Taquito still takes a ton of damage. By comparison, Pumpkin Spice is just as physically bulky, but a little bit less by base stats, but I did investment differently, so it winds up being more physically bulky by the end of all things. And is immune to high jump kick, which means if Pumpkin Spice is on the field and not dead, or not even on the field, not even out necessarily, but if Pumpkin Spice is seen at team preview, that is a mind game, that is a thought that Annabeth has to have before she clicks high jump kick every given time. Pumpkin Spice also has Leech Seed, as Taquito does, which is one of the better bits of utility that Taquito brings. Pumpkin Spice also has Shadow Sneak, so it has priority, and priority that super effectively hits some of the very fast things that give me problems, particularly on Annabeth's team, in her Delphox and her Mega Medicham. It's going to hit both of those Psychic type options super effectively with Shadow Sneak priority, which is incredibly good. It has the same great Grass Stab option in the Seed Bomb, which is very good. Again, not going to hit nearly as hard, like, if I'm being honest, although if I respect Taquito to be more like physically defensive, it would come out to the same thing, right? And then Pumpkin Spice can also get Will-O-Wisp, which is an option, obviously, like Taquito gets no status whatsoever. Pumpkin Spice can run Will-O-Wisp, as can Cheese, which means that I actually have 2 options right now that have the opportunity to run a burning move, which is huge. It is less huge right now than it was a week ago, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but it's still like really, really important overall. Especially because we have a lot more like really good setup options on the team right now. We can give Swords Dance to Ravioli, which is really, really huge, and then of course Dragon Dance on Tsushimi. And being able to burn something physical, bring one of those setup sweepers out on it, and click the dance is just really, really important and really, really good. So ultimately, for those reasons of role compression, we decided to bring Pumpkin Spice, at least for this week. Is it going to be that way every week? I honestly don't know. I would love to bring Taquito into the Elite Four and in this series with him, but like at the end of the day, I'm trying not to lose this one. Winning this one is starting to feel a little bit out of reach, if I'm being honest. Not that it is, but we're getting to the point in the series where Celeste has run away with things enough that it's starting to become her series to lose instead of our series to win. Like, in order for me to pull this around and land in first place, I need her to start making some major gameplay errors. And the problem is her team is defensive enough that it becomes really difficult for her to mess up enough to put us in a position to take first place. That is simply the reality of the world that we live in overall. And that's not to say that that's impossible. The last several series in a row, Celeste has had some major struggles in gameplay in the very late game. But I'm trying not to get my hopes up there, especially because like this was a really challenging week of gameplay. We had a lot of really potent threats come out of nowhere from enemy trainers in the Frost Cavern, and even in the routes leading up to all the sky battles were really deadly. And Celeste didn't lose anything. Like she made it through absolutely flawless, which kind of leads me to believe that maybe we're not going to see those types of errors out of her this time. Which good for her. Like 100%. I am happy. I'm proud of the way she's played. I am happy for her. But yes, that means that my focus now is less on I need to win this series and more on I need to not lose this series and put myself in the best position to capitalize should the worst happen to our friend Celeste. So yeah, that long way of coming around to saying this is the team that we're bringing. I'm really sorry not to have Taquito on the team. It does not feel great, but we are playing competitively, and this was the competitive option, in my opinion. Maybe I am wrong. It would not be the first time. I will point out that before we hatched Omelet, it also meant that we did not have a great answer offensively to deal with Celeste's Snorlax Yum, which is a problem. But then we hatched Omelet, and the decision became very clear for me. So yeah, that's my team. I feel pretty good about it. We're going to be making some moveset changes and stuff as we go. But first, let's talk a little bit about our matchups this week. Let's talk about Celeste first, as Celeste has challenged me first literally every cycle this series, except for the one where I won and then I challenged her first. So we've played the first match every single week. I do not expect this week to be particularly different. Celeste's roster for PvP this week is pretty familiar to what we have grown accustomed to. She is bringing her Mega Charizard Benson. She is bringing Brad her Raichu, Starscream her Skarmory, Shiitake her Breloom, Song her Florges, and Yum her Snorlax. All her greatest hits, as it were. Those 6 mon that have come to basically every match all season. We are seeing a little bit of shakeup from her, however, in the form of her Garchomp Rex, who is subbing in for her Hippowdon, who, I mean, she's had a ground type on her roster for the last 3 weeks. It hasn't come any of those weeks. I think if there is a week where it'll come, it'll be this week where Celeste has a shiny new Garchomp to play with. But she's also already got a dragon type in Benson, her Mega Charizard, and she's looking at me with 2 dragons on my team staring at her. So maybe she'll decide to play it safe and not bring the Chomp this week. I guess we will find out in gameplay. She's also bringing Jamak, her Greninja, off the bench, which is in the place of Bella, her Mega Venusaur, which I think overall is actually a really good substitution, if I'm being honest. At least with the team that I'm bringing. Without the grounded poison type, it does once again open up the possibility that I would run Toxic Spikes on Donut if she continues to move forward with this roster. But then again, we're also past the move relearner, which means she almost certainly has, or at least can have, aromatherapy on Song her Florges. So the window for that to be a dominant strategy has kind of passed. And Greninja adds a real wrinkle to this whole thing. Obviously, its Dark Stab is going to hit Pumpkin Spice super hard, which is something I have to be aware of. It should not have any ice coverage this week, I believe. Let me confirm that, because that is an important point of note. Greninja Gen 6. Our level limit is 48. It does get substitute by level up. It does have Water Shuriken, which I believe is not yet a priority move in Gen 6, I believe. Does not have extra sensory yet, which is good to know. Again, it has substitute. Could have spikes, could have Shadow Sneak, which is priority. Gets Night Slash. We have not yet seen the Dark Pulse TM. Okay, so if it is running dark coverage, it is running physical dark coverage, which is great news for Pumpkin Spice overall. But will almost certainly be running Surf. Will almost certainly be running a dark type move of some sort, I would imagine. Even if Celeste like did not look at my team before she said her moveset, and of course like she's going to, it would make sense given how much I've leaned into Peanut thus far in the series to bring a dark move. So I would expect Surf, probably Night Slash. I wouldn't at all be surprised to see Aerial Ace, given the fact that I'm rocking a brand new Mega Heracross. She's going to be hyper aware of that. She's going to want that quad effective flying move somewhere, and on a very, very fast Greninja makes a lot of sense, frankly. And then a fourth move, maybe Spikes. I think Spikes would actually make a lot of sense here overall. But yeah, there's also a possibility it could be something like Mat Block if she wants to get cheeky, or Protect if she does not. I don't know why she'd run Mat Block unless it's literally just to be cheeky. If I'm being honest, I'm not running anything with like Imprison. I don't think Imprison against Protect would be a particularly potent strategy in singles anyway. But yeah, I really like the Jamak pick for Celeste. I think that overall it's a very cool and threatening revenge killer on her team, and we're gonna have to kind of figure out how to deal with it. Now for our match against Celeste this week, we are definitely bringing Jelly Bean 100% of the time. We've had a lot of problems in general out of hazards from Celeste, and finally this week we have a Rapid Spinner, which means that she's not going to dominate us just on the back of Stealth Rock switch-ins, which I think is really, really important overall. That we are able to kind of maintain that offensive edge on that front. Yeah. I mean, that's not the only thing Jelly Bean brings to the table. Obviously, Jelly Bean's fat and has recovery and recover, which is potentially really, really good. I actually like Brine a lot here. We are not going to overlearn Brine this week, because something Celeste has shown is she has a propensity to have really powerful Mon get hit low and then switch them out to try to preserve them for later in the game, where things are more advantageous for them. And Jelly Bean is going to start pressuring things a lot with Brine in those in-game scenarios where a lot of her team is at or below 50%. So yeah, I like this pick a whole lot. I think that it has potential to be really, really good against Celeste. We are, of course, bringing Omelette, our Mega Heracross here, who is just chef's kiss. Bug is actually a really decently good offensive type against Celeste this week overall, especially because Pin Missile does not make contact, and thus it cannot paralyze us against the Raichu, but it hits Greninja super effectively, it hits Raichu neutrally, it hits Breloom super effectively, it hits Garchomp neutrally, it hits Snorlax neutrally. Obviously we have close combat to hit Snorlax super effectively, and to hit Skarmory neutrally. We have Rock Blast that hits Skarmory neutrally and hits Charizard super effectively. We've got a lot of good things to be had there. We are going to give, I'm going to get into like move sets when I get out of this particular menu, but we are going to go ahead and give Omelette Substitute. I think Substitute makes a lot of sense for a Mega Heracross set, and it's going to allow us to kill faster threats like Brad the Raichu and Jamak the Greninja specifically. Like if we come out on something slow like Yummy and the Snorlax, threaten it out while we click Substitute, then we can just click an offensive move on whatever comes in and they've got to eat it. Like something's going to die at that point. Like sure, like Brad can stay in and break the sub, but he's going to die in the process. So that's, I think, really, really important. I think Omelette is poised to have a huge week against Celeste this week. We're going to bring Waffles. I think that Stealth Rocks is potentially really, really huge here, especially against like the bulky slow Mega Charizard that Celeste has been running. Waffles ought to outspeed it, which is enormous, frankly. It means that we can threaten with Head Smash. Obviously, we can just set up Stealth Rocks. We can own that thing. In fact, I guess let's find out a thing really, really quick. So we'll assume perfect stats on both of them. Neither of them have them, but we'll assume perfect stats on both. So if we are looking at a Mega Charizard X, a defensive Mega Charizard X, so we'll assume like ladder defensive Zard, which I don't think is what Celeste has, especially because I know that hers is very slow. But we will assume something along these lines. And then Tyrantrum. Oh yeah, Dragon Claw super KOs, right? So we don't even need to risk. Oh, well, no, Dragon Claw's a chance to KO. Okay, good. I'm glad I fixed that. So yeah, Dragon Claw does not guaranteed KO. It is a chance, which means that we will want to click Head Smash on that thing unless it has like, if it has literally any residual damage, it's dead. So that's good to know. We can click Dragon Claw and not risk the miss at that point. Dragon Claw or Head Smash is 100% of the time the correct button to click in that situation. Earthquake, obviously not nearly as good. I think Waffles is our dedicated lead here, and I don't think that should be really surprising to anyone. We can click Stealth Rocks on turn 1 in most scenarios. We threaten the Raichu. We threaten everything. Like it's stupid. Choice Banded here with Head Smash. We to defensive Skarmory, we do, it's a 2-hit KO. We do 59 to 70% to defensive Skarmory, which is nuts. Probably a little bit less when you factor in that our stats aren't perfect, and the Skarmories are. Like, we know that, but we also don't know how exactly Celeste EV'd it, so it's still possible that that's a situation that is favorable to us, but I don't believe that it is. But yeah, that is, I think, a great scenario overall for our team. I think we lead Waffles 100% of the time, and we just put on a huge amount of pressure from literally turn 1. Last, but certainly not least, in this situation, this is actually hard. Our 6th slot, I think, was going to go to Cheese pretty unquestionably, and I felt really good about that overall. Until the Greninja came out of retirement. Now the really fast water type is giving me a moment's pause. That being said, no, Cheese is so good against the Garchomp though. Because what does it do? Like what does Garchomp do to this Rotom? Nothing. Absolutely nothing, and we can burn it, which is incredible. It's really huge. So yeah, this is our team against Celeste. I like it a lot. I think that it's really, really good. Let's just make a couple of quick team edits to this squad. We finally have Ravioli as a Garchomp, which I really can't overstate how good that is, especially because, and my opponents won't know this yet, of course, but Ravioli has a perfect speed stat. It's 31 speed IV. It's a neutral speed nature, 31 speed IV, which means that unless one of my opponents has a plus speed Garchomp, which is still possible. They're spoilers. Anna is also running a Chomp. We are running the triple Chomp squad this week. But unless one of their Garchomps is plus speed, I have the fast Chomp. And as we have seen, literally every time there is a situation where the three of us are all running the same Pokemon, right? Whether that is Gyarados or Crobat or whoever, generally the one that is, quote, the good one is the one that outspeeds the other two. Like almost exclusively, which is why Anna has always had like the best Crobat. It's because her Crobat has almost always been faster than our Crobats, and that's just kind of the way Mons work overall. And there's no shade on that. That's the way Mons work overall. But that's also something that we can take a lot of advantage of in this scenario to deal big dick damage, and we are excited for that. We love to see it, as it were. We're gonna give Thunderbolts Jelly Bean. For reasons that I think should be obvious. There's a Skarmory to kill. And again, like if we have anything really that thing can just switch into for free, it's a goddamn problem. Excuse me, that felt unfortunate. Okay. Now, really quick, I have what I think is an important question. I think it's an important question. So for our modest Audino, what does more damage to Snorlax? Return, which is what, 108 base power, something like that? I'm pretty sure it is. Or Grass Knot. Return does more. Okay, that is good to know genuinely, because I was about to teach Grass Knot, but there's no point to do that, so I won't do it. Okay. Do we want Dazzling Gleam? Kinda, actually. Dazzling Gleam would be rad since we are not running a fairy. And there are chomps everywhere. We can't give you... Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Even though it puts us in a much worse position for dealing with Snorlax, we have a mega motherfucking Heracross to deal with the Snorlax. That will be fine. I need things to hit other things. And I think Dazzling Gleam will be really good there. We're going to... No, not Gelato. We could, but no. We will give Fire Blast to Ravioli, and this is Ravioli's moveset. Dragon Claw, Poison Jab, Fire Blast, Swords Dance, which I think is just really, really incredible here. Notably, it breaks down Celeste's entire defensive core, bar Snorlax, and again, we have really, really strong answers for Celeste's Snorlax. And we're going to give Cheese Will-O-Wisp. So here's a fun question. Cheese's fourth move slot is currently Substitute. Do we give Cheese Toxic over Substitute and give it double status? Because you know what I could do? I could give Gelato Calm Mind. And suddenly Gelato would be in a position where it could actually threaten offensively. I could run Thunderbolt, Dazzling Gleam, Calm Mind, and fourth move. I could keep Protect. Let me look at my opponent's teams here. So we've got a Mega Charizard, which is hit neutrally by the Dazzling Gleam, so that's not terrible. Greninja, who doesn't want the Thunderbolt. A Raichu, who is just frail and doesn't really care. A Skarmory, who does not want the Thunderbolt. A Breloom, who does not want the Gleam. Although would just kill me outright with Mach Punch anyway. Breloom is a non-starter, frankly. A Florges, who doesn't really care about either and is super specially bulky and is much more concerned with Toxic. A Garchomp, who doesn't want the Gleam. And a Snorlax, who outpaces me, but this might help me outpace it. You know what? We're going to try it, if only because I think it's going to catch my opponent off guard. And again, if we're able to deal with Celeste's Breloom, this is something that could allow us to outpace in the end game. Now, I genuinely forget. I have a reference somewhere. What is my hidden power typing on the Bad Pig, on my Audino? What is hidden power type? Let me find that here. Sorry, guys. I really wish I had thought this through before I started, but a lot of times I just get my best ideas once we're already going, and that's just kind of the way that works. Bug. Hidden Power Bug. Not ideal. Nope, do not want. We are going to give Substitute here to Omelette. Over Pursuit. Which is a little unfortunate, but I think it's definitely like the weakest link here. I would much rather have these massively powerful attacks than the option to Pursuit Trap, particularly on something that does not particularly want to be on the field with a lot of the things that would be Pursuit Trappable anyway. We are going to give Toxic... I could also give Toxic to Jelly Bean, but I would have to give it over Water. What does Jelly Bean hit directly with Water? Not a lot. Is it worth giving Jelly Bean Toxic over Brine? No, because again, Brine is helpful for other reasons that we've already talked about. Don't overthink this. Don't overthink this, Jolly. Don't do it. It's going to be all right. If only we had Hidden Power Fighting, that would have actually been hype. I could do Surf. I could also do Rest. You know, I could just do Rest Sleep Talk. No, because then I can only have one attack. So that's not ideal. But I could do Rest over Protect here. But then I have to sleep 2 turns. And I don't think that Gelato has the offensive presence to make good on that, necessarily. What does Nature Power do in a PvP setting, in the PvP arena? It's Tri-Attack. That's actually exactly what we would want it to be. Oh, but I can't learn it! This is frustrating. I just want another good move. I just want another good one. I mean, I guess I could run Fire Blast. Or just keep Toxic. Or even just scrap this plan altogether and go back to a much more sensible... I mean, I could always save the Calm Mindset for a future week when we have slightly better options to abuse it. Which I think there is definitely cause for, potentially at least. God, if only I could run Nature Power. That would have been so fucking hype. Such is life. Yeah, we're just going to run Toxic Protect this week. As frustrating as that is in some ways, I think that it's our stronger option overall. We will keep the Calm Mind in our back pocket for the future. Maybe when we have Bolt Beam coverage, once we get the Ice Beam TM, that would probably be a good use of it. And then we've got items. There we go. It's finally time. Welcome to the squad, Big Boy Jellybean. Here we go. And the great thing about Jellybean is Jellybean's like a really legitimate threat too. When we statted Jellybean out, we went max HP, help him like live. He's already like a slow defensive nature, and we just kind of leaned into that. But we also went max special attack. So like, yeah, still 143 special attack. That is not nothing. And with this moveset, like Thunderbolt, Brine, Recover, Rapid Spin, like that's really like legitimately threatening. Like for a record, that's almost as high as Ravioli's physical attack, almost as high as Waffle's physical attack, and higher than Cheese's a special attack. So yeah, you know, pretty good overall. I really wish we had Volt Switch for Cheese. Like that would really just be chef's kiss. But we don't. We can't help that. Such is life. That is another option against Celeste. Honestly, we could just, depending on what we see and how we feel about it, we could just lead Cheese. The problem is if she leads her Charizard, which she has like reasonably frequently lately, like we're basically just giving her setup fodder at that point, because that's like the one thing on her team that we just don't have options to deal with on that mod, which is important to know and to remember. Okay, so as far as items are concerned, we are going to give Ravioli, give us the Life Orb. 100% of the time without hesitation. If we get the opportunity to click Swords Dance, then obviously we're in really good shape. But even if we never get the opportunity to click Swords Dance, Ravioli's just going to hit really hard. With a Life Orb, the Fire Blast obviously is a huge option for Celeste's Skarmory, which is her most likely switch in to Ravioli. The Poison Jab is enormous for her Florges, especially if we get up to +2. If we get up to +2 with Ravioli, against her Florges, Poison Jab, +2. We should most likely be KOing. In fairness, I'm not a minus attack nature on this calc, so it might not quite be a KO. Although her Florges is also a Nuzlocke mon, which means it's not going to have perfect stats either. And actually, even with the minus attack nature, it should still be a KO. So yeah, if we can get to +2, we should just run through her team pretty much at large. I expect we would outrun everything bar the Greninja and the Raichu, but with the offensive pressure we're exerting this week, I imagine we'll be able to deal with the Greninja pretty well if it comes. Raichu just doesn't super threaten Ravioli unless Ravioli is stupid low anyway. For Jellybean, This is actually like a really legitimately hard decision as far as what kind of item to give Jellybean. I think we're going to go ahead and give Jellybean the lefties, which is not a decision that I am entirely like comfortable with or made up about. I could also give Jellybean the Rocky helmet, but I don't see that super coming into play. Like Celeste doesn't have a ton of physical attackers on her team. It's not like I'm going to be switching this thing into the Breloom very frequently, if at all. Like my switch into Breloom, I think is 100% cheese, just because it can switch into all of its move, or it can switch into the bullet seed resisted, which is important. Not the Mach Punch. Omelet can switch into both, but we don't want to switch Omelet into too much damage, period, if we can at all avoid it. Waffles. Sorry, I'm taking too long, and I know that. I need to hustle my bustle. Waffles is getting the choice band. It just allows it to exert so much wall breaking pressure in the early game, which we absolutely want. Waffles' job is to punch open holes that we could take advantage of in the late game. And then Cheese is either going to get the Rocky helmet or get a berry. I think we're gonna go with the berry. Again, Celeste doesn't do a lot of physical contact with her offensive options, and so I think the citrus berry will come in really, really in handy here. And yeah, that's the team overall. Or alternatively, I could give Cheese a Lumberry in case it needs it in the late game against Snorlax, I guess. I don't anticipate Cheese making it that far, though. I think citrus is fine. We're gonna go with citrus unless I change my mind right before the match, in which case y'all will find out. Stay tuned. Now against Annabeth had some pretty dynamic changes to her team this week because unfortunately she also suffered some deaths. She is bringing back Rose her Roserade, Sargasso her Octillery, Fame her Granbull, Echo her Mega Medicham, and Samsara her Delphox. So like the core of the team is still there. She lost Falconer her Staraptor. She also lost something else. What else did she lose this week? Oh, Carmelite, the Mega Aerodactyl, which is actually really huge. Like both of her flying types, which would be great news for Taquito if poor Taquito was not already riding the bench at this point. She has replaced them with Nuit, her Chansey, which is a goddamn menace, and I am not super excited to see it. And also Fuel, her Mega Charizard X, which is a whole ass problem, frankly. I'm a little frustrated about Fuel because normally like Garchomp is like one of the Mega Charizard checks in OU, right? Because it outspeeds by just a little bit. So if you're running max speed Garchomp, you will always outspeed max speed Zard X. But Anna's Zard came from an egg, which means we have to assume worst case scenario, which is that it's Jolly max speed. And if it's Jolly max speed, then it outspeeds our Garchomp, who legitimately drew a perfect 31 speed IV, but is not a plus speed nature. So that's frustrating, but we're going to do our best to counter it. Once again, that is going to mean in large part Waffles and getting Stealth Rocks up early. If Anna does not lead with Fuel, then we just get Stealth Rocks up and it takes half its health coming in, which is really, really important overall. And that also keeps it from switching out and back in more than once. Obviously, if it Mega Evolves, then it can switch out and back in as long as it's not taking damage. But the big thing is we just cannot let Fuel get set up in our face. I do expect that Fuel will come this week. I actually think, if anything, Anna does not bring Echo the Mega Medicham. I think the fact that I have a Ghost on the roster now is going to dissuade from the Mega Medicham quite a bit, honestly. I think we're going to see the Chansey, the Roserade, the Garchomp, the Granbull, the Delphox, and the Charizard. So that's the kind of the squad that I'm trying my best to be prepared to beat. We are going to bring Sashimi against Anna over Jellybean. And not because Jellybean's not good in this matchup. I don't think there's a matchup that Jellybean's not good in. Starmie is a huge Pokemon. But I don't need to worry nearly as much about clicking Rapid Spin. Although, wait, is that true? Does Chansey get Stealth Rocks as an egg move? Because if it does, then I might need to worry about Rapid Spin. It does not. Stealth Rocks is not an egg move. It is a move tutor move. Okay, so yeah, we don't need to worry about Rapid Spin, which means that we are much more free to bring Sashimi, and Anna has a lot of physical threats, so Sashimi's Intimidate is going to be really, really important overall in this matchup. Likewise, I think we are not going... God, this is actually hard. But I think that we bring pumpkin spice here over cheese. And that's a really hard decision to make, frankly, not the least of which being that I am benching both of my best special attackers, which does not feel great. Well, do I? Do I honestly? Pumpkin Spice is in a really good position to deal with Nuit the Chansey, which is not well, no, because it's going to have Toxic. So no, it's actually not. Doesn't do great against Rose, although does better, notably against Rose, than Taquito did, which is important. Does great against Sargasso, although not too great because it has ice coverage. Does fine against Fame the Grand Bull and can burn it with Will-O-Wisp. It provides really, really, really useful defensive benefit against Echo the Mega Medicham, but there becomes a question of, am I going to bet that it's not going to come like I think it's not going to come? Because really, Echo is the big reason to bring Pumpkin Spice here. It does also have... It has priority, though, which is good against Samsara and also good against Fuel the Mega Charizard if it's able to set up a Dragon Dance. Yeah, I think that's enough reason just in and of itself. I think Shadow Sneak is potentially really important in this matchup. It's really important against Fierce the Garchomp if it is a plus speed nature. It's really important against... the Mega Medicham, the Delphox, and the Charizard all potentially. Shadow Sneak is huge. I think we're going to bring a lot of the same things here. We are going to put the lefties, I think, unsurprisingly, on Pumpkin Spice. Here. And we are going to... give a Lum, I think, to Sashimi. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's really good. I think that's about as good as we are getting, at least. We are... We're going to give return to Sashimi. We ran into the mistake last chapter of not having a move to hit, not last chapter, but recently we ran into the mistake of not having a move to hit Sargasso on Sashimi. We're not going to make that mistake again. We're going to give him neutral coverage. We did make that mistake against Olivia in gameplay, yeah, because we took so much time before we did our gym, which, you know, life be that way sometimes. We are also... Do we give Will-O-Wisp here? What would we Will-O-Wisp on Anna's team? The Mega Medicham is not likely to stay in. No, I mean, Wisping the Garchomp is potentially huge, of course, but I don't expect the Garchomp to want to stay in on Pumpkin Spice either. I think we're actually much better off giving Pumpkin Spice Fire Blast this week, because a very likely switch into it is Rose the Roserade, and being able to Fire Blast that could be really, really huge. Alternatively, we could give it Toxic, although the big thing to Toxic would be the Chansey, who number one isn't nearly as likely of a switch in, and number two has Natural Cure. So yeah, I think Fire Blast is definitely the play there. So yeah, guys, that's the team going to PvP this week. I'm moderately confident. We've had some struggles recently, but we are going to do our very, very best here to bring it home for you guys, to rebuild our lead and try to make it happen, Cap'n. But that's going to be it for today, guys. As always, I have been Jolly by Nature. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see y'all next time.
Hey, what's up, everybody? You made it to the end of the video. That is so awesome. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Be sure to click the like and subscribe buttons so you stay up to date on what I and my co-hosts are doing right here on the Blastburn Radio YouTube page. Also, be sure to check out Blastburn Radio Podcast, which is available wherever fine pods are casted, as well as at our website down below at blastburnradio.com. But yeah, we'll be back next time, and I hope to see you there. Take care.